Next, I'd like to introduce Wendy Dant with One Southern Indiana, who will speak to us about why education matters to our businesses and why having success with this initiative can improve our economic development.
We start with this premise. The best social program in the world is a good paying job. People become producers and not just consumers when they have a good paying job. They provide good role models for their families. They typically get engaged in other parts of making our communities great by volunteering and giving back. This is a premise that seems simple, but I don't think we talk about it enough. And it's why One Southern Indiana and the many economic development entities in Southeast Indiana do what it is that we do, to try to help people get good paying jobs. And when we talk about what it takes to get a job, we have to have a good, vibrant community, and it helps to look back a little bit as to what's happened over the last 5 or 6 years in the 5 counties of this initiative. In Southeast Indiana, in 2006, these are jobs that have been tracked by the state of Indiana through the Indiana Economic Development Council. Chances are there were either incentives offered or some type of a tracking system that initiated these numbers. But according to the state data, in 2006, pre-recession, there were over 1,600, nearly 1,700 jobs created in this area. It dropped in 2007 and again in 2008 when people were going, whoa, what's going on with the economy? That was our low point. 2009 started to climb up again, almost 1,000. 2010, we were over 1,400. Something happened in 2011. Not as many jobs in 2011 with just over 600. 2012 looked a lot better, and we are very hopeful that 2013 is going to be one of our biggest years ever. Here's the type of jobs that we have in this area. The pie chart on the left gives you an idea of the farm, which is the 2.5% versus non-farm. But the one on the right gives more of a description of what that employment is in earnings by industry. And very simply, it's trying to point out that nearly 80%, 79.5%, are folks that are working for wages and salaries. They're not working for themselves, they're working for somebody else. So that means there's a decision maker out there. Somebody's out there deciding, where are we going to put our business? Where are we going to keep our locations open in times are bad? How do we just make those decisions? Employment by earnings in the private sector gives you an idea, again, just these 5 counties. What is it that people are doing? How are they earning their dollars? We look at, the high is still manufacturing. 13% or so of folks are engaged in manufacturing. You go over to the second highest, you see retail trade. Some of the growing ones, though, at least in our area, is transportation, warehousing, which is just now under 5%. I know that number is going to start going up. Healthcare, social services, it's about 7%. And because of the population numbers that Haley was talking about in the age, that's likely to go up as well. And then we're hoping that construction and some of the other dollars that have high multipliers will continue to accelerate. Multipliers are those jobs that come in, and because of the activity taking place local, it spins out into other types of job creation in other categories. Businesses are more mobile today than at any other time in our history. How many folks are aware of companies that went to other parts of the country, other parts of the world, and may be coming back? Folks are looking at making decisions based on where they want to be located. People are living their lives based on where they want to be located, and then they go find a job, or they take the job with them and they just commute electronically. But companies are making retention and expansion decisions. Where are we going to keep facilities open? Where are we going to perhaps add on to an existing facility? People are looking at new facilities. Where are they going to bring? Where's the next growth market? Where can I get all of the things that I need to make my business not only productive but profitable? And then also logistics, as I mentioned, we're positioned very well for logistics jobs, and the way we shop is changing. How many of you bought something in the last 3 or 4 months online? It's starting to be a trend. It doesn't necessarily bode well for a lot of the chamber members that are retail shops, but there's adjustments that should be made. But our purchasing habits are changing, and we have to talk about it. When a company is looking at a community, where it was going to do one of these things, grow, expand, or maintain its facility, they're not looking for a reason to put you on their list. They're looking for a reason to take you off of their list. There are over 15,000 organizations like One Southern Indiana across the country, and we're all out there selling the same thing. If Salem and Washington County are selling the same thing that all the other communities are, we've got a great quality of life. Our people here are nice. We've got this beautiful historic courthouse. It's all wonderful, but it's not going to add you to a list. If you don't have something, it's likely to take you off their list. So what is it that they're looking for? Well, the bottom line is we don't always know. We don't always know because every company is different. Every decision maker has his or her own quirks that they're bringing in. But some of the ones that are trends, the critical decision-making factors, location, where the heck are you located? We just got dinged from a prospect a couple of weeks ago after they came and did a site visit, and they were looking at us, Kentucky, Tennessee, and I want to say Alabama, and they decided that they called us and said, I'm sorry, we're taking you off their list, off of our list. And we said, why? And they said, well, you're too far north. Who moved Indiana north? They should have, if location was really a factor, we probably would have been taken off their list a long time ago, but something happened and that became their reason. They don't always give us good. The two critical pieces there is workforce availability and workforce affordability. Now, I've been back home in One Southern Indiana for about 4 months now, having spent the last 8 years in Michigan. And Michigan led the country into the recession, and it's probably going to be a while before it's completely out of it. But even in the depths of the recession in the state of Michigan, with 12 to 14% statewide unemployment rates throughout a good portion of that time, I had business owners come in and say, I don't want to say this too loud, but I just can't find good workers. When that many people are unemployed, the people that they were looking for were not to be found. That's a sad state. So worker, or if they weren't willing to work for the wages. Worker availability, worker affordability. Education and workforce resources. They want to know that there are systems in place where their employees can continue to get educated, whether it's through a higher institution or an institution of higher learning, or whether it's through specific training opportunities. There are lots of things they're looking for. They want to know what buildings you have, what sites are available in case they want to build a new facility, and is the infrastructure kept up? Do you have the airport? Do you have an operating sewer system, or is it a problem that has been ignored for years, that once they make a location decision, then somebody's going to have to fix it, and they're going to have to help pay for it? Those are typically the critical pieces. What are the incentives? How much does this community and the state want us to be there? Because there are egos involved with all of these folks. Do you have a pro-business climate? And I would say Indiana has done an excellent job of creating a pro-business climate. And then you have to make sure that some of the other staples are taken care of, such as utilities. Somewhat important, quality of life is somewhat important. Everybody wants quality of life. Quite frankly, everybody has quality of life. Haley and I both have young children, so daycare is a very, very high quality of life component for myself and probably Haley as well. For those of you without young children in the house, it may not be on your radar screen anymore because it certainly wasn't on mine 10 years ago. So those type of things change. So you have to realize that you're talking to somebody in a specific point in time in their life, and what may be important to them has changed. We need to make sure that that housing could come into play. If they're going to be hiring folks at $10 or $12 an hour and they're afraid that they're either priced too high in the market or too low in the market so that they can have a house and a home for their family that they're comfortable with, those things play into decisions. And some of the things that we don't ever know about, where the CEO's wife wants to live. Sometimes those decisions come in to play, and companies truly will make the decision based on something like that as well. So we try to keep all of that in mind. We do believe Southern Indiana is well positioned. Whatever side of the argument you were on right to work, we can say that it has increased more looks by companies looking at Southern Indiana. And One Southern Indiana number specifically, our number of looks of companies asking information from us increased 30% after Indiana went right to work. We have a favorable business tax climate. specifically in our area, but I truly believe this is going to be a regional benefit for the entire state. The Ohio River Bridges project, people made many business decisions on whether or not their trucks or their employees would get caught up in the traffic on I-65. River Ridge Commerce Center, the old Army ammunition plant in the Charlestown area, is drawing a lot of attention right now. It's not just going to help Clark County and the businesses that locate there. Those are going to be supplier or businesses that other companies from all around the region can supply. And it's not a one-size-fits-all. It doesn't fit every company's needs. So if we can sell them on the area, that site may not be the best place for them. We can help locate them someplace close by. And I would much rather than land in Washington County than in Alabama or Texas or someplace else where there's no economic impact to our community. The exposure from Amazon opening its fulfillment center in River Ridge has been good, and then we rely very heavily on the UPS World Port across the river. It's a regional resource that companies look for. Why we think 2013 is going to be off the chart numbers? In the last 30 days, we have had 28 contacts from companies over a 30-day period. Our monthly average throughout all of 2012, which numbers were good, was less than 10. So our numbers are growing. We're excited about that. We're very busy. I just missed one. I don't know how to go back to it. There it is. Okay, figured it out. We have a group that meets with our manufacturers. It's called Metro Manufacturing Alliance. Every month, when those mostly guys come in, they tell us that workforce challenges are still the #1. When we think about technical skills, yes, they want folks that can walk in and start operating a piece of equipment, but they're really not that picky. They want to know that people are going to show up on time, that they're going to make a commitment to being there, that they are drug-free. That is still a really, really big issue in our communities. And we don't talk about the drug problem like we used to, but I think it's still very, very much there as it affects our workforce. And then folks need to be motivated. They have to have that desire to get up and be a producer and not just a consumer. Where are workers coming from? If you're an employer in the green box there, where do you look for employment? Or where do you look for your workers? You look for the workers that you have today and how you can move them up. You look for residential growth in your area, so there's perhaps more folks to choose from. You want schools, both K through 12 and higher education, that are producing folks with the skills that are going to add to your bottom line. And you're looking always down the road for your workers tomorrow. Not just what you need today, but what you're going to need tomorrow as well. So if you're the employee, John Doe out there, and you're trying to figure out, if you come in for a job, all of these different aspects affect your ability to be a good worker. I start with 0 through K. Anybody under age 5 has to be educated to some point so that they can even be successful in kindergarten. Let me give you a quick example. I was with in the community of Benton Harbor, Michigan before I came back home. And Benton Harbor is the poorest city in the state of Michigan. That's saying a lot. The poorest in the state. If the average kindergartner was supposed to come in, and this is a statistic that was thrown around, with about a 6,000 word vocabulary, so a 5-year-old who hasn't been in kindergarten yet comes in and speaks 6,000 words. Trust me, my 5-year-old's at about 18,000. She never stops. The average kindergartner in Benton Harbor came in with a 600 word vocabulary. How are those kids ever going to catch up? Bottom line is they don't. They didn't. Because they went into a school system of K through 12, which was a lot of kids like them. They didn't succeed at the level that they should. So we had to do a lot of vocational education and adult education, GEDs, getting folks thinking later in life that, I don't really like where my life's heading, maybe I need to go back and educate myself. You could also be an employee and get encumbered worker training. So you're doing your job better because of what your employer's training programs are. So there's lots of different influences, and when you think about education matters and the work that's going to be done here, it's important to keep all of those different initiatives in mind. We can't move ahead economically without a quality workforce, and we really are working to build a bright future. We don't want this to be an Achilles heel where our workforce pulls us down, so we appreciate the effort you're putting into this. And I'll close with this. Economic development is a team sport. Not one person can be responsible for creating jobs. Not one person's responsible for creating a community that attracts employers. Instead, it does take all of us, and I just am thankful that we have a really good team of players on our team for economic development.